The best part of playing Football Manager is seeing your Wonderkids go from Wonderkid to elite and legendary players at your football club. And not everyone knows how to develop these Wonderkids. And in this video, I'm going to give you my absolute top tips to turn your Wonderkids into elite level ballers each and every time. The first tip I'm going to give you is to like and subscribe to this channel, because I have so many videos on so many Football Manager tips that will get you through even the toughest times in Football Manager. But the first real tip is to always improve your training facilities. Your training facilities are the most important aspect when it comes to developing your players. Now, a lot of people think it is the youth facilities. Youth facilities are great, but they are to create new gens that come through into your teams. It's not to develop them whilst they're in those teams. The training facilities takes care of that aspect in the game. And the reason why training facilities are so important is, imagine this: you're a football player, you've just signed for a club who've got really poor training facilities, and they're playing in a local park or a local school car park, whatever it might be. You're not going to develop as well as if you were playing at St George's Park, where the England national team trains. It's just not going to happen. You're going to get the best out of yourself and think you're going to get the best out of your players if you've got the best training facilities that you can get in game. And how you find them in the team that you are, you go to club info and then you click on facilities, and it will bring you up with this screen here, and you can have a look at your training facilities. I'm using Everton in this video just as an example, and they have superb training facilities. So you know, Everton, the first tip is ticked off. They've got great training facilities, but if they didn't, there is a way to get new training facilities. Don't you worry. You go to Club Vision, and then you go make board request, you go to facilities, and then you click improve training facilities. Now, not all of these requests will be accepted by the board. They may not do it. It's all down to the finances you have in the bank. They may feel like their training facilities are already at an absolute crucial level and they don't want to have the vision to improve them anymore. So you just got to keep pestering them, pestering them, and normally with success comes improvements in facilities. At least that is what I have found in this game. Another important step in creating great Wonderkids is the staff that you have in your youth teams. Now, how you access this, you go to your dev center down here, you click on staff, and then you choose what staff you want to look at first. So for this example, I'm looking at the under 21 staff, and it's not looking good. Basically, what you can see is it compares it to the average in the Premier League, and we are below those averages. So we're not going to have the best coaches coaching our youth team players here, and that gives them a big disadvantage when it comes to development. What you want to see is you want to have the best. You want to be all the way above here. You want to be hitting every single one of those in every single department, and that could be down to the amount of coaches that we do have. So we only have 3 coaching, and what I would say is get more coaches. Ask the board, and how you do that, you click the little drop down here, you click the coaches under 21s to get some more. And what you want to do is continuously build those up so that your youth players have the best coaching plus the best facilities. And it starts off with a recipe for success whilst developing these players. Developing young players isn't always successful. There are hidden stats in the game that stops this from happening, and some players actually are late bloomers. So, and that's one of the ones where they, when they're sort of 29, 30 and they come in towards the peak of their career, they develop late on in the game. A great example in that in real life would be someone like Jamie Vardy, for instance, who in the later part of his career became a very good striker and an international level striker at that as well. So don't worry if these tips don't work out straight away. It's all about patience and learning and seeing those hidden stats. But in terms of the players and what you want to see between the ages of 16, 17, leave them in your youth team. Game time doesn't affect them. It's all about training, getting their right mental attributes, which we'll look at the mentoring groups later on in this video to ensure that you're giving your players the right mentoring group, so they develop the right personal traits and the right personality traits in order for them to be successful in the game, and in order for you to then develop them further into world-class players. Now, looking at Everton's under 18 squad here, they've got quite a few players with a lot of potential for the squad. As you can see, we're going to use Matthew Apter as an example. Well, he's 18 years of age. He's training very well. He now needs game time. Now, there's 2 ways that you can do this. You can throw Matthew Apter into your first team. Everton are in the Premier League. I wouldn't recommend doing that, but if you wanted to, you could, and he would develop fairly quickly at playing at Premier League level, but he's not a Premier League level player. So what you need to do is you need to be able to give him game time in a professional league. And what I'd recommend is loaning them out. It sounds like a simple thing. All you do is you go to transfers, you go to offer via transfer room, and you go to loan them out. And it brings up this screen here. But it's important you don't just click offer via transfer room at this point, because what you'll get is you'll get a load of loan offers back where they'll say fringe player, impact player, and that's not going to help Matthew's development at all. At minimum, you want the agreed playing time to be regular starter, and you want to lock this in. You don't want any offers that are not for him being a regular starter in those teams. You also want to look at the leagues the teams are in as well. So, for instance, if you get offers from League 1 and League 2 were regular starters, you want him to play in League 1 football because the quality of football is better, meaning that he's going to develop quicker and he could come back next season and be ready to go to, say, to a championship side. And in a couple of years' time, he could be ready to be playing in your first team, depending on how he develops in the game. But it is crucial you give him the regular starters. So don't send them out on loan as fringe players. It is absolutely pointless, in my opinion. For players who are going to be staying at your club, there is also more you can do in terms of their development. So I'm going to use Martin Sheaf here as an example of a player who would stay at the club. He's 17 years of age. He could do with another season playing in the under-19s and really build up his stats and build up his playing time at youth level. Now, what you want to do is you can see that Martin is the best as a poacher up front. So what you want to do in terms of his development, you want to be able to progress him in that style of play. And what you want to do is you want to train him in that role as well. So you want to train him as a poacher. So he's playing in his role and he's training to play in that role as well. So it's like a double down on his development. So you click here, you click striker, you click poacher, and you click poacher attack. And make sure that is on. And then what you could also do is have an additional focus as well. Where does Martin struggle in terms of his stats? Where can he be upgrading? As we know, we can see he's got fairly decent finishing for his age and first touch. Heading is there as well, and so is his technique. But his acceleration and balance are not that great. So what you want to put him on is you want to try and put him on training that's going to either improve his agility and balance at the same time, so he can improve, because we know we need fast strikers in the Premier League. That pace and agility and balance isn't going to help him once he gets the Premier League level ready. You can also change the intensity of these training sessions. You don't want to put him on double intensity. It may develop him a little bit quicker, but you're also making him more susceptible to injuries, especially if he's getting good playing time in the under-19s as well. So it doesn't matter what position they play. Make sure you train them in their natural position and then have a look at their stats and really go through them and see what they need in terms of in order to become a better player, and make sure that they're working on that constantly in order to get them developed. One of the best things you can do for young players is get them into the right mentoring group. Now, there are two ways you can do this. If you don't know what mentoring is, it's basically you put them in a group of players. So there's normally 3 of them that go in together, and the more experienced players will mentor the younger players in that group, and they will give them personality traits that will rub off of them, some hidden attributes as well. There are 2 ways of doing it. You can ask your assistant to assign them, which is the lazy way and the easy way. It sometimes can make good decisions, sometimes can make bad decisions, a bit like the Gattuso meme. Sometimes may be good, sometimes maybe something else, a language we won't use on this video. But what you want to do is actually get into it and do it yourself. It might look daunting. It might look a little bit like, oh, I've never done this before. I didn't even know this was a thing. But we're going to make it really easy for you to understand here. So all you have to do is click add a group, name the group whatever you want. I'm just going to call it test for now as an example. And now you're going to add some players into that list as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to find a young player. So we're just going to filter it by age. Find the youngest player in the squad, which is Jareth Branthwaite. We're going to add him to the group. And then what we're going to look for is personality types that are very, very good to have in that group. So Ashley Young is a model professional. He would be very, very good to rub off on Jareth Branthwaite. Other players as well that we can look, if we look at the older players in the squad, you've got Andy Lonergan, who is fairly loyal. We don't want fairly loyal or fairly professional. Resolute is a good one as well. But what we want in this group is Idrissa Gueye and Ashley Young, for them to rub off on Jareth Branthwaite and bring his personality from balanced to being model, professional, or even resolute. It will help his determination as well. And you can do this with when you promote young players into the first team, put some 16, 17-year-olds into the first team and make them available for the under-19 squad as well is another thing that I always do. They're training with the first team, but they're playing at youth team level. It takes advantage of the better coaching that you have at club level and at first team level as well. If your coaching isn't great at youth team level, that's one hack that I've always used, and it always works with the young players, especially if you put them into the right mentoring groups. You're going to get the best out of these players. My last tip is a tip that is always overlooked by people when it comes to player development, is that a lot of people are quite quick when they're playing Football Manager to warn their players, to discipline their players when they've done something bad, but are not quite up for the task when it comes to praising players. And like, as we know, people, like, think about yourself in real life. If people are always criticizing you when you're at work or wherever you are, it's going to bring you down. You're not going to get the best performance out of you. But if you've done something well and someone gives you a bit of praise, it gets you back up. You're quite happy for the rest of the day. It can make your day, weekend, life, depending on what that actual situation is. And that's exactly what you should do with your players here. So, for instance, we're just going to use a hypothetical here. Let's just say Martin's had a great game for the under-19s. He's bagged a hat-trick for them, and you're very happy with his performance. You want to come to discuss and then praise player, and you can praise his training and development, or you can praise his conduct. If they're training well, always praise them, because when you praise them when they're doing well for training, it means they're developing, and it means that they're going to keep training at that level. So if they're getting like 9.7s, 8s in training, they're putting full effort in, your training's working because you've just implemented all the other tips that I've given you. This is the last key part in that task of developing these players, is making sure you give them the positive reinforcement that they need to grow, develop, and become mainstays in your first team. And don't forget, if you use all these tips, let me know how your players have developed whilst using it. And if not, I will see you on the next video.